In the arena of global superpowers, the United States and China stand as giants, commanding immense influence and power. But beneath their towering facades lie deep-seated issues that threaten to unravel the very fabric of their societies. From political tensions to economic woes, from social unrest to environmental challenges, both nations are facing a myriad of problems that could potentially lead to their downfall. Join us as we delve into the contrasting challenges facing these giants and explore the question, who will implode first? From economic overproduction to political polarization, from drug epidemics to racial tensions, the United States and China are grappling with a range of issues that could have far-reaching consequences. Stay tuned as we examine these challenges in depth and attempt to forecast the future of these global powers. The future of these global giants hangs in the balance as they grapple with internal and external challenges. Will they emerge stronger, or are they teetering on the brink of collapse?
Student debt has ballooned to more than $1 trillion. So how did we get here?
In the United States finds itself ensnared in a student debt crisis of unparalleled proportions, with millions of graduates shackled by debilitating debt that stifles their financial security and economic mobility. The soaring cost of higher education, coupled with stagnant wages and escalating living expenses, has ushered in a bleak reality where many young Americans embark on their careers burdened by monumental debt. This not only impedes their ability to purchase homes, start families, or save for the future, but also casts a long shadow over the economy at large. Confronting this student debt crisis is pivotal for fostering a more equitable future for all Americans and preventing further widening of the wealth chasm. But in China
did not announce its youth unemployment rate for the second straight month after that figure hit a record high in June. This decision to hold the data release has been met with backlash online, as some see it as reflecting economic slowdown.
Grappling with a daunting challenge, youth unemployment. Many young graduates find themselves grappling to secure suitable employment opportunities, yet the government's actions, or lack thereof, have raised concerns about the actual extent of this issue. Critics contend that the government's focus on maintaining social stability has sometimes eclipsed efforts to address the root causes of youth unemployment. This has sparked calls for greater transparency and targeted policies to effectively tackle this complex and pressing challenge. But both countries have the same problem of corruption and opacity that plagued the governments of both the United States and China, eroding trust in institutions and impeding efforts to address critical issues. In the US, worries about political corruption and the influence of money in politics have corroded confidence in the government's ability to prioritize the public interest.
Jackie Chan, the martial artist and actor, apparently had an interview in China where he had a pretty noteworthy quote. He said that America is the most corrupt country in the world, which I think is interesting.
Similarly, in China, corruption within the ruling Communist Party has fostered public skepticism and demands for greater transparency and accountability.
A slew of corruption scandals gripping China. Chinese President Xi Jinping has warned the CCP members to maintain personal integrity and set rules for their relatives to keep them away from corruption at a key party meet.
Remedying these issues is imperative for reinstating public faith in governance and fostering effective leadership in both nations. Alongside healthcare and economic disparities, the US faces a mounting challenge of intellectual property theft, particularly from foreign actors.
Joining me now to talk about all of this, the theft of intellectual property, the upcoming G20.
This theft not only harms American businesses, but also stifles innovation and economic advancement as companies risk losing their competitive edge. Concerns over intellectual property theft have prompted numerous foreign businesses to exit the US, further exacerbating the nation's economic hurdles. China's rapid economic expansion has been marred by intermittent economic downturns, with the country contending with challenges such as overcapacity, soaring debt levels, and decelerating growth.
Chinese leader Xi Jinping rings in the new year with a rare admission that China's economy is in trouble. In his televised New Year speech, Xi said, "Some Chinese enterprises are struggling and some people have difficulty finding jobs and meeting basic needs."
These economic hurdles have been compounded by factors like trade frictions with the US and the fallout from the COVID-19 pandemic. Consequently, many foreign businesses are reassessing their investments in China, precipitating a reconfiguration of global supply chains. In the US, immigration has become a contentious topic.
As Congress debates changes in immigration policy.
Nearly 10,000 migrants a day. That is what federal officials say they are encountering at the U.S. southern border on average.
With debates raging over issues like border security, DACA, deferred action for childhood arrivals, and asylum policies.
Behind me, there's a group of about 40 migrants, including young children.
The influx of immigrants, both legal and illegal, has sparked concerns about job competition, strain on social services, and cultural assimilation. These immigration challenges have become a focal point of political discourse and have fueled social rifts within the country. The United States, often lauded for its healthcare innovations and quality care, is marred by a glaring issue.
Healthcare spending is rising around the world. Widespread medical debt is a uniquely American problem.
The United States has by far the greatest burden of healthcare bills on individuals.
Exorbitant costs and unequal access. This crisis leaves countless Americans without adequate health insurance, not only jeopardizing individual well-being, but also wreaking havoc on the economy. The burden of high medical bills contributes to bankruptcies and economic instability, amplifying the urgency of addressing this glaring disparity. The absence of a universal healthcare system deepens disparities in health outcomes, disproportionately affecting marginalized communities. Tackling these issues is paramount for the nation's future, as healthcare costs surge and access remains a dire concern for many. Let's shift to China's once draconian one-child policy, enacted in 1979 to curb population growth, has left enduring social and demographic scars.
More cracks are emerging in the path to recovery for China's economy as it logs one of its slowest growth rates in more than 3 decades. Asia's largest economy also saw another year of population decline despite government efforts to boost a flagging birth rate and to stave off a demographic crisis.
While the policy was relaxed in 2015 to permit couples to have 2 children, its long-term repercussions linger. The nation now faces an aging population and a skewed gender ratio, with more men than women. This demographic imbalance poses profound social and economic challenges, including a shrinking workforce, escalating healthcare and pension expenses, and potential social unrest. Mitigating these demographic hurdles demands innovative policies and strategies to ensure a stable and prosperous future for China. And China's meteoric economic rise has been accompanied by a severe environmental toll.
This morning in the capital of China, the air is so bad, people are being told to stay inside. Pollution in Beijing reached hazardous levels earlier this week.
Marked by rampant pollution and resource depletion. The country's industrial expansion has tainted its air, water, and soil, posing grave health risks to its populace. This environmental degradation has triggered ecological imbalances, leading to biodiversity loss and ecosystem disruptions. Despite recent efforts to curb pollution and champion green energy, China grapples with formidable environmental challenges that imperil public health and ecological stability. Finding sustainable solutions to these environmental woes is imperative for China's sustainable development and the well-being of its citizens. China's real estate sector has been a linchpin of economic growth in recent years, but is now confronting issues such as overvaluation, speculative bubbles, and abandoned urban developments.
The world's most indebted property developer Evergrande has been given a winding-up order by a court in Hong Kong.
The most indebted property company in the world, Evergrande Group.
Numerous Chinese cities have witnessed a surge in real estate projects, leading to a glut of residential and commercial properties. This surge has raised doubts about the sustainability of the real estate market and the potential for a catastrophic property market collapse, which could reverberate across the Chinese economy. China's relationships with neighboring nations are under immense strain due to territorial disputes, especially concerning the South China Sea and Taiwan.
Coast Guard vessels from China and the Philippines collided in the disputed waters of the South China Sea on Tuesday.
Moving on now. China is showing off to the United States its war muscle against Taiwan. Here's what I mean. Just this week, China has sent military aircraft and ships near Taiwan.
These conflicts have heightened tensions in the region, sparking fears of potential warfare and threatening global stability. In the United States, the right to freedom of speech is a sacred tenet of the Constitution.
As protests continue at college campuses nationwide, it begs the question, where does free speech end and the First Amendment begin?
Yet, this freedom has become a battleground for contentious debates over hate speech, disinformation, and censorship on social media platforms. While the expression of diverse viewpoints is a pillar of American democracy, it has also become a battleground for regulating harmful content and maintaining civil discourse. America is grappling with a grave crisis of drug abuse and homelessness, particularly acute in urban centers. The scourge of substance addiction has led to a surge in drug-related deaths and overdoses, while homelessness has become an epidemic in many cities, exposing the stark deficiencies in social services and affordable housing. Inflation is soaring in the United States, fueled by disruptions in the supply chain, labor shortages, and surging demand.
We turn now to new inflation numbers. They've just been released, and it shows inflation rose by more than expected in March by 0.4%. And it's up 3.5% since this time last year.
The resultant price hikes are eroding consumers' purchasing power and raising grave concerns about the overall health of the economy, prompting contentious debates over monetary policies and governmental interventions. China's breakneck economic expansion has unleashed a torrent of problems, including overproduction and overcapacity across various sectors.
China is now simply too large for the rest of the world to absorb this enormous capacity.
This has bred inefficiencies, environmental desecration, and economic imbalances, posing formidable challenges to sustainable development and economic restructuring. Northern China is reeling under a deluge of flu, pneumonia, and COVID-19 cases, particularly among children.
Growing concerns in China as the country deals with a rise in respiratory illnesses and clusters of pneumonia in children.
Underscoring the persistent challenges of containing infectious diseases in densely populated regions. These outbreaks have strained healthcare systems and cast doubt on the efficacy of public health measures. In the United States, drug overdose deaths have skyrocketed to alarming levels, fueled by the insidious opioid epidemic and the rampant availability of illicit drugs.
America's opioid crisis shows no signs of abating. New data out today indicates that deaths from drug overdoses in the U.S. reached a record high last year.
This crisis has placed an unbearable strain on healthcare resources and underscored the urgent need for holistic strategies to combat addiction and provide support for recovery. Racism and colorism remain entrenched in both the United States and China, posing formidable barriers to social cohesion and equality. In the U.S., racial disparities persist in critical areas such as healthcare, education, and the criminal justice system.
And finally, in Africa, a Chinese supermarket has been accused of racism against locals in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. Nigerians were outraged after they were denied entry inside the store for not being of Chinese descent.
While in China, discrimination based on skin color and ethnicity remains a pervasive issue.
The U.S. has one of the biggest debt piles in the world. The government owes close to $35 trillion. China is having money problems too. China's local governments face a mountain of debt, a whopping $13 trillion. This is according to Goldman Sachs.
As we wrap up today's discussion, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more insightful content. Thank you for watching, and until next time, stay informed and stay curious.
Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.